Once a dog stole a piece of bone from the market. He was very happy. He was going along the side of a stream and came to the bridge. He wanted to cross the bridge. While going over the bridge, he saw that another dog was crossing the bridge with a piece of bone in its mouth. All on a sudden, a thought came across his mind. He said to himself, "If I snatch away that piece of bone, I shall have the two pieces of bone." But he did not think for once about his shadow. His shadow reflected on the water. He saw the reflection of his own shadow is the translucent, clear water of the stream. Anyway, he thought another dog would leave without delay. He ran to another dog quickly. Thus, led by temptation, he forgot about the piece of bone of his mouth. When he gaped his mouth to snatch away that false piece of bone, the piece of bone in his mouth dropped into the water. It was carried away by the current stream of water. He saw that the piece of bone of another dog also dropped into the water, as like as him. Then he realized that it was his own shadow. He said to himself, "Alas, have lost my piece of bone. If I did not run after the dog, it would happen. Now nothing can be done, having lost." Own piece of bone, the dog went away, disappointed. Moral: do not be greedy. On a hot day of summer, an ant was searching for some water. After walking around for some time, she came near the river. To drink the water, she climbed up on a small rock. While trying to drink the water, she slipped and fell into the river. There was a dove sitting on a branch of a tree who saw an ant falling into the river. The dove quickly plucked a leaf and dropped it into the river near the struggling ant. The ant moved towards the leaf and climbed up onto it. Soon the leaf drifted to dry ground and the ant jumped out. She looked up to the tree and thanked the dove. Later, the same day, a bird catcher nearby was about to throw his net over the dove, hoping to trap it. An ant saw him and guessed what he was about to do. The dove was resting and he had no idea about the bird catcher. An ant quickly bit him on the foot. Feeling the pain, the bird catcher dropped his net and let out a light scream. The dove noticed it and quickly flew away. Moral: one good turn deserves another. One evening, a mosquito was feeling very hungry. He started buzzing around a man's ear. After some time, the man got very irritated. "What do you want?" he asked the mosquito. "Sir, I am very hungry," replied the mosquito. "I would be really grateful if you let me have some of your blood." The man thought for a moment. "Okay," he finally replied, "but you are allowed to suck blood only from my heel. If I catch you sucking blood from anywhere else, I will kill you." The mosquito flew to the heel. The skin of the heel was very tough, and the mosquito's needle almost broke while trying to get through the skin. Even so, the mosquito didn't complain. After a while, the mosquito grew tired of sucking blood from the tough skin of the heels. He started eyeing the soft skin of the ankle. He just couldn't resist it and stuck his straw into the ankle. The man jumped with surprise when he felt the pain and slapped the mosquito away. Moral: greed can land you in trouble. Tim and his grandma were supposed to spend one whole day at the beach. When Tim began packing his picnic bag, he saw big dark clouds gathering in the sky. "Oh no!" Tim exclaimed. The cloud thundered and soon big droplets came pouring down. "Please, Grandma," Tim pleaded, "let's not cancel our trip." "Don't worry, Tim," Grandma said. "We will definitely go if we see a bright blue patch in the sky." Tim sat by the window and waited for the blue patch to appear. The rain had stopped, but the clouds refused to part. An hour went by, but it was in vain. Then Tim had an idea. He ran to his room and fetched a blue handkerchief from the cupboard. He went to the terrace and started waving his blue handkerchief. Grandma, who was glancing at her wet plants in the garden, looked up just then and smiled. "The clouds have indeed parted," she said, and they had. Looking at little Tim's efforts, the sun had smiled and peeped out from behind the clouds, creating a bright blue patch in the sky, just above the handkerchief that Tim was waving. Moral: God helps those who help themselves. Emily heard that the Tooth Fairy gave children money for their fallen teeth. When her first tooth fell off, Emily put it under her pillow and waited for the Tooth Fairy. That night, the Tooth Fairy took Emily's tooth and replaced it with a coin. Emily immediately sprang up and looked under her pillow. "Just one coin," she said. "You can keep it for yourself." With those rude words, she flung the coin at the Tooth Fairy. The Tooth Fairy was very hurt. She quietly took the coin and went away. She never went back to Emily's house. Meanwhile, all of Emily's friends kept getting coins from the Tooth Fairy. Soon they had collected many coins. They bought lots of things with the money, but Emily had nothing. "Serves you right," said her friends. "You should not have been mean to the poor Tooth Fairy." Emily felt bad. She wrote an apology letter and asked her friend to keep it under her pillow with her fallen tooth. The Tooth Fairy found the letter and forgave Emily. She started going to her house again. Moral: always be thankful when people do you favors. Once, there was a naughty child named Tom. He would never respect his elders or listen to them. Instead, he liked to tease the elderly. All the old people in the neighborhood were very displeased with Tom, but he just didn't care. One day, Tom saw an old man carrying a very heavy bag of groceries. Instead of helping the old man, he started making fun of his gray hair. Tom stuck his leg out and the poor man tripped. He fell down and his groceries went tumbling everywhere. Years later, Tom grew old. One day, he was carrying a heavy bag of grocery home when a small boy walked up to him and offered to help him carry the heavy bag. Tom realized how horrible he had been a long time ago. Instead of teasing the old man, he should have helped him, just like the little boy did. Tom blessed the little boy and regretted being naughty when he was young. Moral: treat others like you would want to be treated. Nancy was an 8-year-old girl who had a habit of reading stories before going to bed. One night, she started reading a story about ghosts. The story was full of evil spirits and demons. Nancy grew very scared after reading the story. She could barely sleep, and she thought she saw a dark shadow on the wall moving all night. The next morning, Nancy had dark circles around her eyes. Her mother asked, "Didn't you sleep well last night, dear?" "A dark shadow kept moving in my room, Mom," Nancy said. The next night, her mother decided to find out what the dark shadow was. When they turned off the lights, Nancy and her mother saw that the shadow belonged to nothing but the tree across the street. The shadow moved whenever the tree swayed in the wind. "Silly girl," Nancy's mother said. "You were afraid for no reason at all. It's just the shadow of the tree." Nancy felt foolish that she had imagined so many things just because she had been reading ghost stories at night. Moral: fear is often just in our head. Subscribe to our channel so you don't miss new episodes. Share your stories and impressions in the comments, and maybe your story will become a masterpiece in one of our upcoming videos. Let's dive into the world of slimes and stories together.